This is a Sage Story.
I am Vince Newton. I'm a 66-year-old gay man living in Asheville, North Carolina. And I'd love to share my coming out story with you. Certainly there were not many supports when I was growing up, some 55 years ago. And I can remember at least one very specific time when I consciously stuffed who I was and stuffed my sexuality. And this occurred when I think I was about 12 years old, and I had grown up in a family that typically might be labeled the Archie Bunker, i.e. redneck family. Neither good nor bad, but conservative for sure. And I was the youngest of four boys, and all of my brothers had moved and actually quit school and joined the Navy. And my parents had moved to a home where for the first time in my life I had my own room. And they said I could fix it up however I wanted to. And they bought me this really great maple furniture. And then one day my mother was taking me, or took me to Sears Roebuck to purchase a bedspread and curtains. And so I'm looking through all the possibilities, and I land on pink satin. Bedspread, curtains, the whole shebang. And I was so pleased with myself, but then I noticed the look on my mother's face. It was one of complete horror. And I couldn't understand why. But I brushed it off because she still bought them for me. So a few days later, I'm up in my room, and I've put up my curtains, had my bedspread and my bed all made, and I'm doing my homework like a good 12-year-old. And all of a sudden, I hear my father's voice from the bottom of the stairwell. It's going, "Vince, come down here. Your mother and I want to talk to you." And I went, "Oh my God, what have I done?" I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't imagine why they wanted to talk to me and what was wrong. So I go downstairs, and my parents are sitting in their normal places. My father on the end of the couch with a cigarette and a beer, and my mother sitting in her chair across from him. And whenever my mother was anxious or nervous, she would start to hum. And so I thought, oh boy, something is really up. And I could not figure out what it was. So after a tense minute of sitting there, waiting for the bomb to drop, whatever it was going to be, my father turned to me and said, "Your mother and I want to take you to a psychiatrist because we think you're a homosexual." And this was 1963, which was prior to homosexuality being unlabeled as a mental illness. And number one, I didn't know what homosexuality was, but I also knew from the tone of my father's voice and my mother's humming that I did not want to be that. So in my limited defenses, I became a hysterical queen. And I started crying, and I yelled at them, and I said, "Don't you ever call me that again, and if you do, I will never speak to you," and ran upstairs and slammed my bathroom or my bedroom door, and you would have thought I was Scarlett O'Hara from Gone with the Wind, but I wasn't. And anyway, and they never brought it up again. But the next day, I went to the store, I bought, I don't know if you've ever heard of Ritz dye. You used to be able to dye fabric in washing machines. Took down the curtains, took off the bedspread, threw them in the washing machine, and they came out an army pea green, drab, which in some sense is kind of what my life became, drab, because I was stuffing an essential part of who I was. And I went on for another 25 years doing that. I even got married, and that didn't make me straight. And even after we divorced, on the surface it had nothing to do with my sexuality, because I continued to date women for another 5 years. And we had just gone as far as we could in that relationship. And I didn't come out until I was in my 40s, and I was in graduate school, and I finally had found an environment that I felt safe enough in to begin to accept my sexuality. And I remember the first person I told, I said, I leaned over the table, we were at a coffee shop, and I said, I think I'm bisexual. And for me, that was the first step. And, but then it didn't take me long before I realized, oh, I'm not bisexual really. I'm really a gay man, in and out. So, and I just received tremendous support at that time, and I have experienced it as so freeing. So I'm much more authentically who I am as a human being, which includes my sexuality. So I would encourage anyone who is struggling with this, make sure you have people who are supportive around you. Thank goodness there are lots of organizations like the LGBT centers around the country. Reach out. You will find tremendous support, and you are not unique. Yeah, we all have an individual journey, but we all share in that journey as well. So thanks for letting me share my story, and I hope that you find some benefit in it for yourself.
Share your story at sageusa.org/SageStory.